The night of the mating ceremony arrived dressed in silver. Moonlight spilled like liquid glass over the cliffs of Black Hollow, touching every pine needle and every stone with a sacred glow. The entire pack had gathered in the clearing where ancient torches burned blue with wolf fire, their flames swaying in the winter wind. The scent of pine resin, burning cedar, and anticipation thickened the air. I stood at the edge of it all, invisible as always. My name is Alara Vale, daughter of a disgraced beta, the girl the pack tolerated but never fully claimed. Whispers followed me like shadows about my father's betrayal years ago, about my bloodline being weak, about how no alpha would ever choose me. The mating ceremony was sacred, a night when wolves found their fated partners under the full moon's blessing. Some found love, some found power, some found ruin. I expected none of it to matter to me. Across the clearing, the future alpha stood near the ceremonial stone, all broad, shouldered, radiating dominance. Kale Draven, the golden heir, every unmated she-wolf watched him with open hunger. He was ruthless in battle, cold in judgment, and devastatingly handsome. He had never once looked at me, which was fine. I preferred it that way. I slipped through the crowd and took a seat at one of the outer stone benches circling the clearing. The pack elders were chanting softly now, their voices weaving into the wind. The moon climbed higher. Then someone sat beside me. I stiffened. He was unfamiliar. Dark hair, unfamiliar scent, smoke and wild rain. Not from Black Hollow. His clothes marked him as a traveler. His posture was relaxed, but his eyes were sharp, studying everything. "Is this seat claimed?" he asked quietly. "No," I replied. It was harmless, just a seat, yet the moment I settled beside him, the air changed. The chanting faltered, a low growl rippled through the clearing, not distant, not subtle, possessive. Every head turned toward the ceremonial stone. Kale Draven stood rigid, his golden eyes burning, not at the stranger. At me, the sound came again, deeper this time, a warning that vibrated in my bones. The traveler beside me stiffened but didn't move. Kale stepped down from the stone, one step, two. The ground itself seemed to brace, my heart pounded. Why was he looking at me like that, like I had committed treason? Like I had. The growl erupted into words, sharp as claws. "She is mine." The entire pack froze. Gasps echoed through the clearing. Mine, the word cracked through the night like thunder. I stared at him, stunned. Kale's gaze never left mine. Not the stranger, not the elders, me. "She is my mate," he declared, voice raw with something primal. "And no other male will sit beside her." Silence. Even the wind held its breath. I couldn't speak, couldn't move. Mate, impossible. We had never spoken more than a handful of words. He had never shown interest. He had barely acknowledged my existence. The stranger slowly rose from the bench, hands raised in surrender. I meant no challenge, Alpha. Kale's jaw tightened. His wolf was close to the surface. I could see it in the sharpness of his teeth, the tension in his shoulders. "Leave the clearing," Kale ordered. The stranger obeyed without argument, melting back into the shadows beyond the torches. But Kale didn't relax. He stalked toward me instead, each step deliberate, each breath heavy. The pack parted for him like the sea. When he stopped before me, the heat of his presence wrapped around me, intoxicating and terrifying all at once. His scent, cedar, smoke, dominance flooded my senses. I swallowed. "Why?" I whispered. "Why would you say that?" His eyes flickered. Anger, relief, something almost desperate. "You think I don't feel it," he growled softly, for my ears alone now. "You think I haven't fought it every day." Fought what? The bond, my pulse thundered. "I don't understand." I breathed. His hand shot out, not hurting, but firm, lifting me to my feet. Gasps rippled again through the crowd. An alpha touching a she-wolf so openly before claiming ceremony. "Unheard of, the moon has chosen," he said louder now for all to hear. "And I will not allow another male to even sit beside what belongs to me." Belongs? The word should have angered me. Instead, my wolf stirred for the first time in years, restless, alive, answering his call. The elders exchanged uneasy glances, because something was wrong. The moon did not reveal bonds like this. Not with growls, not with possessive fury, and certainly not without the ceremonial rite. Yet the pull in my chest tightened painfully, like an invisible thread tying us together. Kale leaned down, his forehead almost touching mine. Say you don't feel it, he murmured. I tried. I really did, but the truth slipped out before pride could stop it. I do. His eyes darkened with triumph and something far more dangerous. Around us, the pack erupted into whispers. This was not how the mating ceremony was meant to begin. And deep in my bones, I knew this was only the beginning of something far more powerful than either of us understood. The moon burned brighter above us, and somewhere beyond the clearing, unseen eyes watched with interest. Part 2. The claim before the moon, the silence after my confession was heavier than any storm. I do, the words still hung between us, fragile and irreversible. Kale's fingers tightened around my wrist, not enough to hurt, but enough to anchor me. His golden eyes softened for a heartbeat, as if relief had cracked through the alpha's iron mask. Then the murmuring began. She can't be his mate. Her bloodline is cursed. The moon would never. The whispers slithered through the clearing like snakes. Kale heard them, his wolf did too. A low rumble vibrated in his chest, not wild this time, but warning. Protective silence, he commanded, and the pack obeyed. Even the elders lowered their eyes. The high elder, rowan ancient and sharp as winter frost, stepped forward slowly. Alpha Kale, he said carefully, the moon reveals bonds during the rite, not before. This display is irregular. As if the bond pulsing between us were some minor inconvenience. Kale didn't release me. If the moon chooses to reveal my mate early, he said evenly, who are we to question her? His gaze flicked down to me again, and for the first time I saw it clearly. Fear, not of the pack, of losing me. My heart twisted because I had felt it too. For years I thought I was broken. My wolf silent, distant, barely more than a whisper. While other girls spoke of sparks and dreams of their fated mates, I felt nothing, until tonight, until the moment I sat beside that stranger. And Kale growled. The memory made heat flood my cheeks. He sensed it. His lips twitched faintly, a possessive satisfaction curling in his expression. Why didn't you tell me? I whispered so only he could hear. His jaw clenched. You think I wanted this? He muttered back. You think I wanted my mate to be the one woman I was forbidden to touch. My breath caught. Forbidden. What do you mean? Before he could answer, a sharp voice cut through the clearing. Alpha, Selene. Daughter of the Gamma, beautiful, flawless. The pack's unspoken future Luna, or so everyone believed. She stepped forward, her silver dress shimmering in the torchlight. Her eyes locked onto me, not confused. Not shocked, furious. This is absurd, she said smoothly. We have trained for years for this ceremony. The alliance between our families strengthens the pack. You cannot simply discard that because she sat beside a stranger. Discard? As if I were a mistake. Kale's grip on me tightened again. I never agreed to a mating alliance, he said coldly. You didn't refuse it either, Selene countered. The tension thickened. I felt suddenly very small between them. Political, that was what this was supposed to be, a strategic mating, strength, power, not fate. Kale stepped forward, placing himself slightly in front of me without realizing it. Shielding me, I will not bond for politics, he said. The moon has spoken. Selene's eyes flickered to me, scanning. Measuring you, she said softly, almost pitying. You barely have a wolf. The words struck deeper than I expected. Because they were true, or had been. My wolf had always been weak, quiet, ashamed, but now a flicker ignited in my chest. Warm, growing, Kale must have felt it because his head snapped toward me. His nostrils flared, inhaling my scent. Something changed in his expression. Shock, Alara, he breathed. The elders felt it next. A ripple of energy moved through the clearing, subtle but undeniable. The torches flared brighter, the air crackled, the moonlight shifted narrowing, centering on me, gasps erupted. I staggered slightly as heat rushed through my veins like wildfire. My pulse roared in my ears, my skin tingled, almost burning. Kale caught me before I fell. It's happening, someone whispered, but she hasn't stepped onto the right stone. I don't need the stone, Rowan murmured in awe. The bond is manifesting. Selene's composure cracked. No, she hissed. This isn't possible. Kale pulled me closer against his chest, his voice low and fierce. Easy, breathe. I can't, I gasped. My wolf surged forward inside me for the first time. Strong, luminous, powerful. Not weak, never weak. She had just been waiting for him. The realization hit like lightning. Kale pressed his forehead to mine again. His skin was scorching, his breath ragged. Our wolves are aligning, he said hoarsely. The moon is sealing it. Without the ceremony, without permission, before the entire pack. The silver light descended like a spotlight from the heavens, wrapping around us both. Energy spiraled, ancient and sacred. The bond snapped into place, not gentle, not subtle, claimed. A mark flared against my collarbone, just below my throat, hot enough to make me cry out. Kale growled, not in anger, in triumph. The mark appeared on him too, mirrored over his heart. The clearing fell to its knees. Even the elders bowed. Selene did not. Her eyes burned with something darker than jealousy. Hatred. This isn't over, she said quietly, but no one was listening to her, because the moon had chosen, and she had chosen me. Kale lifted my chin, forcing me to meet his gaze. Say it, he murmured. Say what? That you're mine. The possessiveness should have frightened me. Instead, my wolf purred. I'm yours, I whispered. His answering growl was soft, but devastating. And I am yours, Allura Vale. The alpha had spoken. The bond was sealed, but as the silver light faded and the pack rose slowly to their feet, I noticed something chilling beyond the tree line. The stranger who had sat beside me was still watching. And he was smiling. The stranger who smiled the cheering should have felt like victory. The pack was on its knees. The bond mark burned warm against my collarbone, no longer painful but alive, like a second heartbeat beneath my skin. Kale's arm remained wrapped around me, possessive and unyielding, yet my eyes were fixed beyond the clearing. On him, the stranger, he stood half, hidden among the pines, moonlight tracing the sharp line of his jaw. While the rest of the pack bowed in reverence, he remained upright, calm, observant, and smiling, not in challenge, not in fear, as if this had been expected. A shiver ran through me. Kale felt it instantly. His head snapped toward the tree line, following my gaze. His body stiffened. You know him? He asked, voice low. No. I whispered. I've never seen him before. Kale's eyes narrowed. His wolf pressed forward, alert and restless. He is not from any allied territory. Before I could respond, Rowan approached again, leaning heavily on his carved staff. Alpha, the elder said carefully, the rite has concluded, but this development will stir unrest. The Gamma family will not accept this quietly. As if summoned by the words, Selene stepped closer again, her expression now eerily composed. You think the moon's mark protects her, she said softly. You think enemies will not use this. Kale's jaw flexed. Speak plainly. Selene's gaze flicked toward the tree line. The Northern Territories have been watching us, waiting. A weakened alpha distracted by a scandalous mate would be convenient. My stomach dropped. Northern Territories, rogue-adjacent lands, unstable, ruthless, the stranger. Kale turned sharply toward the guards. Bring him to me. But when the warriors rushed to the trees, he was gone, vanished like smoke. A cold silence followed. He walked into our sacred ceremony. Kale muttered, fury simmering beneath his calm exterior, sat beside my mate, and no one stopped him. My mate. The words still felt unreal. I didn't know. I said quietly, I didn't feel danger. That's what concerns me. He looked down at me again, but this time there was calculation in his gaze. Strategy, not just desire, Allura, he said softly. When you sat beside him, did you feel anything? A pull, a spark? I searched my memory. No, only curiosity. Kale exhaled slowly. That means he wasn't challenging for a bond, Rowan murmured. He was observing, or testing, Selene added coolly. Kale ignored her. He cupped my face gently, tilting it so only he could see my expression. From this moment forward, you do not walk alone. I'm not fragile, I protested, even though my heart was racing. I know, he replied. That's exactly why you're dangerous. The way he said it sent heat rushing through me. The pack slowly began to disperse, whispers following us like shadows as Kale led me away from the ceremonial clearing. His hand remained firm at my lower back, guiding me toward the Alpha residence carved into the cliffs. The bond tugged every time I drifted a step too far from him. It was intoxicating, terrifying, real. Inside the stone halls, torchlight flickered against ancient carvings of wolves and moons. The doors shut behind us with a heavy thud, muting the noise outside. For the first time since his declaration, we were alone. Cale turned to face me fully. The Alpha mask slipped. "What were you thinking?" he demanded, though his tone was strained rather than angry. "Sitting beside an unknown male on mating night. I didn't know you were going to growl at the entire pack." I shot back. His lips twitched despite himself. "You think I planned that?" he asked. "I was fighting the bond for months." "Months?" "You knew." I breathed. "I suspected." He admitted. "Every time you entered a room, my wolf reacted. I thought it was instinct, territorial irritation." I folded my arms. Irritation. His eyes darkened. Desire. The word hung thick between us. "I stayed away because of your father." He continued quietly. "The council believed bonding with his daughter would weaken my authority, so I had been political liability. Not unwanted, the difference struck deeper than I expected, and now," I asked, "now the moon has removed the council's choice." He stepped closer. Too close, the heat between us intensified instantly, the bond humming like a living wire. "You don't belong in the shadows," he said softly. "You never did." My throat tightened before I could respond. A sharp knock echoed through the chamber doors. Urgent, Cale's expression hardened again. "Enter." One of the outer guards rushed in, breathing hard. "Alpha, we found this at the northern perimeter." He extended a folded piece of dark parchment. Cale took it, scanning quickly. His eyes flashed with something dangerous. "What is it?" I asked. He handed it to me. 3 words were carved into the parchment in silver ink. "She was meant for us." My blood ran cold. "The Northern King," Cale said quietly. "He has been searching for something or someone." The stranger's smile flashed in my memory. Not random, not coincidence. I looked up at Cale. "They were watching me." "Yes," he said grimly. "And now they know exactly who you are." The bond pulsed between us again, but this time it didn't feel romantic. It felt like the beginning of a war. Cale stepped forward, pressing his forehead to mine once more. "No one takes what is mine," he growled softly. But this time I wasn't sure the threat was only about possession. It was about protection, and beyond the cliffs of Black Hollow in the frozen north, someone had just declared a claim. "The North wants what is mine." The words on the parchment refused to fade. She was meant for us, not a threat. A declaration. Cale stood rigid before me, jaw tight, eyes burning with calculation. The playful heat from moments ago had vanished. The Alpha was fully present now, strategic, lethal, unshaken. But I felt shaken. "Meant for them how?" I asked quietly. Cale took the parchment back and handed it to the guard. "Seal the northern perimeter. Double the patrols. No one enters without my command." "Yes, Alpha." When the doors shut again, silence pressed in. I wrapped my arms around myself, suddenly aware of how much had changed in a single night. Hours ago, I was a tolerated pack member. Now I was the Alpha's marked mate, and apparently a target. Cale approached slowly. "Alara," he said carefully, "the Northern Territory has been unstable for years. Their king believes in bloodline superiority, power breeding power." A chill slid down my spine, and he has been searching for a dormant lineage, a wolf said to carry ancient lunar energy. My breath caught. "That's myth," so we thought. His gaze dropped to my collarbone where the silver mark glowed faintly. "They wouldn't have revealed themselves unless they were certain." I stepped back instinctively. "You think I'm what? Some prophecy?" "I think," Cale said slowly, "your wolf was never weak." The memory of tonight surged through me. The surge of strength, the way the moonlight bent toward me without the right stone. "You're saying they were waiting for my power to awaken?" I whispered. "Yes, and you?" I asked softly. "Did you know?" His eyes flickered with something I couldn't read. "I suspected there was more to you," he admitted. "But not this." A heavy knock echoed again. This time, the door opened without invitation. Selene entered. Her expression was composed, but her eyes were sharp with intention. "You cannot keep secrets now," she said, ignoring protocol. "The council demands answers." Kale's posture stiffened. "You forget your place." "I remember it perfectly," she replied coolly. "Which is why I know the pack will fracture if you don't explain why the North believes your mate belongs to them." Her gaze shifted to me. There was no longer open jealousy. There was assessment. "You're not ordinary," she said quietly. "I never claimed to be." I replied, surprising even myself. Something almost like respect flickered in her expression. "The Northern King," she continued, "has no mate. He's rejected alliances for years. If he believes she was meant for his bloodline, he can believe whatever he wants," Kale growled. Selene's eyes snapped to his. "Belief leads to war." Silence fell again. The weight of it pressed into my lungs. I stepped forward. "What if I'm not something to be taken?" I asked. "What if I'm not a prize?" Kale looked at me sharply. Selene tilted her head. "Then prove it," she said. The challenge hung between us. Outside, thunder rolled across the cliffs, though the sky had been clear moments before. Kale exhaled slowly. "There is only one way to stop this before it begins," he said. "Which is?" I asked. His golden eyes locked onto mine. "You must complete the lunar ascension." My stomach dropped. "That ritual hasn't been performed in centuries," Selene said sharply. "Because no one survived it," Kale replied. My pulse pounded in my ears. "What does it do?" I asked quietly. "It awakens the full extent of your wolf," he said. "If the North believes you are some dormant power, we end the mystery. You either rise stronger than they imagined, or," I pressed. His jaw tightened, "or the bond could shatter under the strain." The air left my lungs. Our bond, just hours old. And already threatened, Selene folded her arms. "If she survives and ascends, the North loses leverage. If she fails, the moon will have made her choice clear." I looked between them. Fear flickered in my chest, but beneath it something else, strength. For years I had been the girl others pitied. Tonight the moon chose me, and now an entire kingdom wanted me. No more hiding. "When do we start?" I asked. Kale's eyes widened slightly. "Alara, you said I was dangerous." I reminded him softly. "Maybe it's time I prove it." The bond pulsed warm and fierce. Pride flickered in his gaze. "Tomorrow night," he said, "at the peak of the second moon rise." Selene studied me one last time before turning toward the door. "If you survive," she said quietly, "the pack will never question you again." When she left, the chamber felt smaller. Kale stepped toward me slowly. "This ritual will push you beyond pain," he warned, "beyond control. Your wolf will either dominate or consume me." I finished. His hand lifted to my cheek. "If it consumes you," he said softly, "I will fight it." Emotion tightened my throat. "Even if you have to fight me," his eyes burned with unwavering certainty, "especially then." Outside, another roll of thunder shook the cliffs. Far to the north, beneath frozen skies, a king was preparing. And tomorrow night, under the moon's unforgiving gaze, so was I.